Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our North Middlesex Wednesday, February 21st meeting. Call the meeting to order. Roll call. We have everyone present. Disclose your pecuniary interests. If you have any, please forward them to the clerk. Minutes of the previous meeting for February 7th. Any business arising or errors or omissions? Seeing none, we need a motion to accept. Councillor Daigle, Councillor Irwin, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. First order of business, we have a delegation. The YMCA's annual delegation is coming. How are you this evening?
Good. Okay. Yeah, thanks for having us again. It's been a year since we were last here, and obviously we want to come and tell you how the last year was and obviously think about what this year is going to look like. So my name is Ashton Cruz. I'm a regional manager with the Y. I oversee the site here in Park Hill, as well as one in Strathroy and our one in Kamoka as well. I introduce you to Rebecca as well.
Hi, I'm Rebecca.
What do you do?
I'm a center manager.
So Rebecca's our center manager at the Park Hill Y, so looks after the programming in both that center and also the program we have in Elsa Craig as well. Thanks. So this slide really just gives a quick snapshot of the work that we put into last year. So some of the key performance indicators in terms of our membership. We ended the year at 378 members. Today, we're around that number still. We are at, 372 members as of today. We're going to talk a little bit about, obviously, financials over the next 2 or 3 slides and the impact the membership revenue has on our, the number of members has on our revenue. Financially assisted members, we're 25% of our members are on the financially assisted program. That is not changed. That was the average last year. It was the average really for 2022 as well. So it is room for improvement. And what I mean by that is our association average around 35% across Southwest Ontario. We do find in smaller, more rural communities that number is lower, but we are continually trying to improve that number. Make sure that people are aware that we have a financial assistance program and it's accessible to as many people that would like to take advantage of that. Camp last year, we provided 630 weeks of camp. So that's over 9 weeks of camp. We had a ton of kids come through. It was a really successful camp, both here in Park Hill and also in Elsa Craig. Our employee engagement score is 84. What that means is we do an employee survey through a third-party company that the whole of the Y across the country do through the Federation. 84 was the score. That was 4th highest in our associations out of 15 sites. The North Middlesex Y was the 4th highest. And then for our net promoter score, which is just internal, so just our 15 sites, North Middlesex was 3rd highest in 2023. So both staff and members are happy and engaged, which is obviously what we want to see. In terms of, we can just to finish off that bottom half in the red there. Just some of the programs that we're offering, community events. We had the Family Day in Elsa Craig on Monday, which was fantastic. The regular kind of things as well. So community events, summer camps, obviously our group fitness and child and youth programming as well. In terms of community engagement and support, we are lucky enough to receive the Tim Hortons Smile Cookie Campaign funding last year. We've been fortunate enough to be selected again for this year. There's a small grant carried over from the Sunset Community Foundation as well that provided some busing last year. There was a little bit of surplus remaining, so we were able to carry that into this year and provide some busing for the kids in camp to take them off-site and maybe one of our other locations, and out the programs and amenities there. So in terms of the financial outlay, the 2023 budget was revenue of 377,000, 378 almost. Actuals was 347. I'm going to touch on some context in these in a second. Compensation for last year was 251,000 and actuals was 283. And then other expenses was pretty much bang on, just under 43,000, just under 44,000 actuals. Let's say when we budget for 2023, we obviously always use historical numbers. 2022, we didn't even have a full year. January being in the fitness industry is a big month. We were closed January 2022. So there was a good guess scenario for 2023's budget in terms of membership revenue. The compensation was a little bit higher than we had budgeted for, as you can see. That was due to some increase in programming that we were trying to ramp back up after COVID, trying to get back to where we were. So the programming ramping up obviously contributes to that compensation. When we look to this year, and I know that your eyes are probably going to that bottom right cell there, we're looking at a budget of just under 250,000 in revenue, compensation of 211,000, with other expenses being around 38,000. We have a contribution to the municipality of 0 is what we're planning for this year. There's been some significant changes over the last, really over the last 6 months. There was a program that brought in $32,000 of revenue that we had to end. We've obviously seen our camp numbers this year look like they're going to potentially be less than last year. And also membership count. Our membership count at its peak last year was around 550. As I said off the bat, our membership number right now is just under 400. So we're trying to make up that loss that we've seen. Our budgeting process starts in August. It normally is completed by September, October. So we really are obviously trying to have a best guess for what our jump off on January 1st is going to be. And unfortunately, we didn't hit that jump off. So we've reforecasted significantly already this year. Trying to finish the year at break even is the goal. That doesn't include the municipality's management fee of around the 54,000 mark, which is what it is currently. We're working closely with Brandon on a new agreement. Our current agreement is up in the last day of June this year. So that is something that we're working obviously in the background. Our finance team has that right now. Then over the next few months, we'll obviously be coming up with what we look like for the next year or the next hopefully few years in a new agreement. Thanks. So just to highlight some of the key things that happened in 2023, as I said a couple of times, the return to pre-COVID programming. Camp was unbelievably successful. 2 sites, over 600 camper weeks. That is comparable to some of our huge sites that we have in London that have maybe 10,000 members or so. So really, really strong camp out in North Middlesex here. PA Day camps, obviously offering those. The camps during March break and over the Christmas period as well, we're offering those camps still. And then some obviously of the aesthetics work that we've been doing over the past few months, a little bit of a revamp into the fitness floor, some capital investment into a new floor, some painting, new mirrors, and some new equipment as well. I've mentioned the Tim Hortons Smile Cookie campaign, also the other community events, eventually Family Day, but the Santa Claus Parade. Rebecca did 2 this year, one here in Park Hill and one in Elsa Craig. So trying to get back out into that community and making sure that people are aware of what the Viking brings to Park Hill and to Elsa Craig. And I'm not going to go verbatim through every single point here, but just some highlights of what we're looking forward to this year. Improved programming, more programming, looking at how we can obviously be more in the Elsa Craig community and obviously still here in Park Hill. The camps, as we've mentioned, Canada Summer Jobs is a big part of our funding that we hope to get every year. Our camping departments kind of organize all of that funding, but that allows us to bring in the camp director, and that's funded. Renewal of the municipal agreement, as I've said, and then the summer camp, which I've mentioned a few times in both locations in Elsa Craig and in Park Hill. I believe. Here is when we start every meeting with internally at the Y, we start with a Y story. We ask around the table if anyone has had an experience with a member or someone that we serve over the last week, typically, and then we ask them to share that story. These are some of the stories that we've received over the last 12 months from members. These are all through a third-party program that we use that gauges member feedback. So every week, members are surveyed. We ask them for their feedback, and these are just 4 of the comments that we got. So Staff comes up there a lot. Welcoming comes up there a lot. Selection of equipment for the size of the community, for the size of the branch as well. So overall, we're really pleased with how things are progressing here in Park Hill. There's room for improvement as always, as you've seen in terms of the financials, and our membership count is less than where it was in the peak of last year, which is April. But we hope with improved revenue generation through other resources, improved expense management, that we're going to obviously have a significantly good year and be able to contribute back to the community, which is obviously our mandate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions from council? Councilor Cornelison?
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Can we go back to the financials? And I have a keen interest in your accounting process here, because in 2023, then what the budget was and what the actual was, and then 2024, everything, all the numbers are shrinking significantly. How do you attribute that to?
There's so the two main things are a reduction in our membership count. As I said, we went from a peak of 550 members to we're just under 400 members now. Average revenue per member we're looking at right now is $36, but just under $37. Take that $37 on a monthly basis, you multiply it by a loss of 150 members. It's a pretty significant loss there. Our camp is, as I said, 630 camper weeks last year. Looking back to what our registration was at this point last year, it's again lower than we had hoped. So we've reforecasted our camp for the summer period. And that's a big piece. And then the after school program that we ended in at the end of the year. So it didn't restart after Christmas. That was a $32,000 in revenue program for us that we had to end.
So what do you attribute the loss of memberships to?
I think there's numerous factors. I think there's obviously there's maybe other resources that people are looking into, go into. But yeah, we're obviously working hard to get those back. The change in the children's programming was significant. It was kind of out of our hands, but the loss of members due to that was big. We typically do see a loss of members after camp. A lot of members, parents will sign their kids up for a membership. There's a reduced rate. So we definitely saw that impact too. Yeah, those are two of the main factors, I would say.
And my last question is, you made mention of the management fee of $54,000, I believe.
It's typically, yeah, it's around that. Yeah.
So is that what the municipality is paying you to manage this?
That's correct.
And is there any of that, those funds coming back to the municipality?
So so for the 2024 budget, no, is what we have there. If we look at the 2023, a contribution of 20,000, so the difference there is around the 30,000 mark, would be going back.
So you're kind of going backwards here.
It looks, yep, we are going backwards from a financial standpoint, absolutely. We are doing everything we can to kind of course correct that. As I said, a couple of things were out of our hands in terms of the ending of a program that was a significant revenue generator. There's improved expense management. As you can see, there's a 70,000 difference in compensation that we're looking at. And as I said, we've reforecasted just over the last couple of weeks for our financial team to kind of go back to that. But I wanted to be honest with you and show you kind of exactly where we stand. As I said, our budgeting process started in August. When we look at our approved budget from August, there is a contribution of over $100,000 there. Between August and December, there was some significant change. And unfortunately, that has impacted our bottom line quite hard.
Okay. So my final comment is that you've been operating here in Park Hill since 2010, I believe. So that's 13, 14 years. And at any time over that period of time, have you been self-sustaining where actually were profitable and could have functioned without municipal support?
I would have to look back. I've been supporting the branch for just over a year, so I'd have to look back in our statements. Yeah, a sustainable model would be if we can make $53,000 for the year, that's going right back into your pocket. But yeah, over the 2 years that I've been overseeing, it's not had that $53,000 contribution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Nerda.
Thanks, Brian. Mr. Mayor. You said your numbers at the peak were at over 500 and now they're at 300. What is it household memberships that have been canceling, single memberships? What's that look like?
Yeah, we're seeing it mainly in that household membership and the child membership. Every time we see a household, our typical number or our average number is around 4.4 members per household membership. So every time one of those household membership gets canceled, we're losing almost 4.5 members. So that's the significant change we've seen there.
And then I just have a follow-up to that. Why do you think, what contributes to that?
Yeah, I think I answered the other council's same question. There's obviously changing the programming has been the big contributor there, and obviously the camp change as well.
And changes you mean in what? Can you give an example? What do you mean by changes?
Changes in the programs that we've been able to deliver. There's been some
So changes in frequency,
changes in frequency, changes
duration?
in not necessarily duration. I mean, most of the programs run for the same amount of time, but in terms of frequency, yes. And obviously what the content of that program as well. As I said, the Kid Quest program that we ran after school was a big piece of our revenue generation, and that had to end. So and participants of that program were members. So when that came to an end, not only were we losing the revenue from that program, we were losing the revenue from their membership too.
And just one more comment. And so what are you guys doing to get that number up from 0?
Yeah, as I said, we're obviously back out into the community running the family day event. As I said, we're trying to get members in to try and experience the Y at no cost. We are doing a really thorough job of our expense management, making sure that we're limiting our part-time hours to make sure that Rebecca, who's on salary, is being used in multiple departments, both teaching classes, working the membership desk, and managing the facility. And then obviously program supplies and the other expenses you can see there, which are a small drop in the large bucket, but if we can make the contributions month over month, we're hoping that by the end of the year it will be obviously above that 0 number you see there.
Thank you.
Councillor Irwin.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Your Worship. Through you. I'm curious if you do any kind of catchment numbers where you know where your members come from, what communities. And I say that in part because we have some significant growth happening, for example, in Elsa Craig. How do you get them to Park Hill? So do you do any kind of a catchment equation? Do you know your numbers come more from one part of our community or another?
I don't know those numbers. I don't know exactly what the numbers would be. I know our marketing department do it for obviously their purposes. The Elsa Craig comment is one that we've been talking about internally as well. We see the growth there. We've been trying to ramp up the programming there. The community center is a perfect location for that programming. So we're running probably a 50-50 split of our programming, both in the Park Hill Community Center, but also in Elsa Craig as well. So yeah, I will get back to you on specific numbers around those, but yeah, our marketing department definitely look at that geographic catchment for it.
Follow up.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to say, and I meant to leave this comment, so I apologize. I did make the Family Day event, the last bit of it in Elsa Craig. It was a fabulous turnout. Understand you had 450 to 500 people there. Yeah. So it strikes me there's a lot of interest in the community. And then my previous comment is, what's the catchment area? And are people seeing this more as part of one part of our community and not part of the whole community? Okay.
Sorry.
Are they seeing it more as a Park Hill thing or a North Middlesex opportunity to participate in the Y? That was my question.
I think anecdotally, I would say that people see this as a North Middlesex. We tried to have obviously we have a footprint with the fitness center here in Park Hill. But we're trying everything we can to make sure that Elsa Craig feels as involved as possible. As I said, Rebecca did both the Santa Claus parade in both locations. We've done Family Day in Elsa Craig this year. To make sure people are aware that just because we have the fitness center here in Park Hill, doesn't mean that programming isn't coming into Elsa Craig. So yeah, we're trying to make sure that people are aware of that and see the value in the membership to be able to participate in programs in both locations.
Okay. Councillor Knellson, you have another question?
Thank you. I just have a comment to make. Given that you're struggling, financially and you're with membership, have you given any consideration to reducing your management fee, given that this hasn't been all that great?
I think we're in the process of a renegotiation of the agreement right now. I know what's been proposed is different to the management fee, and as I said, our financial team, our CFO, is looking at that right now. I think that would be above me to comment on what a management fee could look like going forward, but definitely in negotiations when we speak to obviously Brandon.
So it's possible that the management fee could be reduced.
I mean, it's a possibility the management fee could change for sure.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Ashley, I just have one question for you. And this might be just outside the presentation you have here for us tonight. Will council be furnished with any type of future delegation with regards to equipment upgrades that you'd be looking for the municipality to participate in?
Yeah, within our agreement, we will often reach out to ask for capital investment into the fitness floor. We did receive some at the end of last year. A couple of pieces of new equipment, we're looking for more. Obviously, as you can see, there's an impact on every time we purchase that equipment, and that stuff's not cheap. Some of the equipment that we would look at starts at like $2,000 to $3,000. And when we look at the revenue, obviously, that this branch is making, would make a big dent. So we're trying what we can internally to ensure that fitness equipment is kept up to date. It's kept maintained, and obviously, when it does need to be replaced, it's being replaced appropriately.
While I was watching this presentation or listening to your presentation, I was just thinking to myself that if it is being reduced by, we'll call it a significant amount, perhaps maybe that equipment isn't being used as significantly. Perhaps maybe we could forego any type of capital investment in the future to maybe turn that zero into some numbers in front of it.
We have zero in our budget for the rest of the year for capital investment. I will say in terms of volume and access, the fitness center is still highly used in comparison to previous seasons, even with our peak. As I've mentioned, our loss in members is really coming down to that child membership and that household membership. To add even further context to that, when we look, we have 4 typical membership types: an individual, a senior, a household, and a child. At that peak number, the North Middlesex branch had 15% of their members were child membership. Average for our association was 5. That number is down back to average. So we've had a 10% loss in that child membership, and they're obviously not using those the fitness floor. The program supplies that come with that are fairly minute in the grand scheme of things when we look at them. But obviously they're being tailored for the amount of kids that we're serving now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I do have 2. One is your assistance program. And it's more we talk about the growth, to Councilor Irwin's point about the growth we're going to have is, I think it's on all of us, the Y and municipality, to make sure that we let all these new residents know about the Y, its existence, what's going on with it, and also that assistance program. Because we know there's a lot of stresses on people and families right now. So that's just more of a comment, I think, to it. And how are you going to reach out? Like, what was the Y's program, or what's your plans for reaching out like to all the new residents?
Yeah, it's on all of our marketing. We've got a charitable number in there just to put kind of a bug in people's ear that we are a charity. We mention our financial assistance in all of our communications, whether it's email, it's print. And I should also mention, over the course of it may have been in play when we came in last year, but our financial assistance program has changed in the sense that we've taken away the proof of income. We used to ask people that came in, ask for a financial assisted membership to prove that they needed it. We've taken that away to try and remove that barrier. And I mean, typically the first question we get asked is, well, how are people not taking advantage of that? We haven't seen it. Our financial assistance has been 35% across the association for about 3 years, so previous to making that change. And we feel better about it. There was, and Rebecca can speak to this, I'm sure, in her previous roles, working in membership desks in high volume centers. It can be a very uncomfortable conversation for people when they come in and ask for some help. So we took away that barrier when we had to say, hey, you need to go home and bring back X, Y, and Z to prove that. We've taken away that barrier. And we've seen really good feedback both from our staff and as well as our members in terms of taking away that barrier.
Okay, nice. The other question I'd have, it's on one of your slides, you were showing introduction to trades. I'm sure I read you were talking about future introduction to trades.
Okay.
On the one slide.
Okay, you can speak to them. I haven't been.
Rebecca, you got
So,
introduction to the trades, yes. What does that mean, or what?
so the high school does like an introductory to the trades, right? And I have gone to them and I want to work with them and be able to like attend these events or participate in these events and just get out more, right? So people know this is like, we're here and
Okay, so working through the high
more.
school,
Yeah.
Okay, That's what I was wondering. I saw it there and I was wondering where you were going with
It was
that.
one of the, yeah. So,
Okay, thank you. The only other question I had was always I ask about equipment, but Councilor Teo has already asked that. So if there's no more questions from council, thank you, Ashley, Rebecca, always for coming. Thank you very much.
Thank
Next, I need a motion to go into closed. And we're going into close for two reasons. One, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And the other one is personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Can I have a motion to go into close? Councilor Daigle, Councilor Nerda, all in favor? Carry.